parents will pass. I don't want that to happen, of course, but it doesn't. It feels almost like a natural flow
Right.
that they would pass before me.
Right.
But then, so this friend of mine, he was about exactly my age. And I really thought, like, we'd talk, even though when we lived in, like, separate states, we talk every week. So I thought this is somebody that I'd be, growing old with, till we're 80. And just to have him, just like that, it was really, like, a weird, like, whoa. Like, really sad, but also, like, I didn't really comprehend, like, that it can just end like that. So I decided to, from that point, within like a month or two from his death, I moved to Texas because there were still friends I had down there that I hadn't seen in years. I had family, my parents, my sister, uncle, and aunt down there.
Okay.
So I decided to, and I was kind of in a rut up here anyways. So I decided to go back down to
Start
Texas.
over kind of thing.
Exactly. And that move was completely inspired by his death. And I don't feel I would have done that without the drastic circumstance. And from there, like, I met his brother-in-law, and I mean, he's going to be the best man at my wedding. So, like,
his brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, like, a new best friend. Not like a
he brought you together, kind of.
Exactly. And I also met my fiance. She lived in Texas, and I met her. And then we started dating, and then I brought her back up here with me.
Okay, and has she ever lived around here?
No, she hasn't.
Well, what does she think?
She really loves it.
Okay.
She wasn't a big Texas fan.
Okay, has she always been there?
For the most part, she grew up, born in Texas. She spent, I think, 3 or 4 years of, like, before she was 10 in Arkansas. Okay. And then they came back to Texas.
The South, no matter what.
Yeah.
And how did her family feel about you moving her up here?
Oh, I mean, they really like me.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So
they're fine with it?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Because when Denny and I got married, and Leah was so mad. I mean, she knew because he was military. Like, she knew the situation. But
yes.
I remember, like, the day after my wedding, I was like, oh, yeah, now I'm, like, leaving everybody I know. I'm moving to Texas with Denny. Like, oh, this will be fine. And I'm like, totally fine. Well, and then my birthday's in September 7th. So, and we got married August 19th. And so my parents flew down to Texas to see me because, like, it's my birthday. Yes. And he was so mad. He was like, we're just starting our life together. They surprised us. That's what he didn't like. They didn't talk to me. I'm the man of the house.
Oh, that's so funny.
And I was like, it's my birthday. And he's like, yeah, but they didn't talk to me, and I'm the man. Remember? No. Don't take any advice from him on marriage. That's for sure. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah, so that was kind of like, they all came down there, my parents, because it was my birthday. But it was just so close to the wedding that Danny thought it was a little too soon.
Okay.
But anyways.
Well, I mean, like, I can understand that. But
like both aspects.
Yes.
Like, it's my birthday. And I just moved across the country.
Well, when did you guys, sorry, August 19th, but what year did you
2006.
2006?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So that's 19 years.
That's crazy.
So it was our golden anniversary. So then our speedy quick story is I taught kindergarten in Worthington. He was flying in Del Rio, Texas. He came home for Christmas. We kissed on the couch. I had a lot of wine. We kissed on the couch. And then we started talking from then on, like January, 2nd. And then we talked for 2 years, got engaged, got married, moved to Del Rio, Texas. We lived there for 1 year, got pregnant with McKinley. Then we moved to Alaska, and I had McKinley there and Kindle, both. We lived there for 4 years. Then we moved to Florida.
Okay.
We had Cadence. Then we moved to Oklahoma, and we lived there for a couple of years and went to Germany. Wow. Then, are you recording? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Then came back to Oklahoma and had Skylar. And then we moved. He was done with the military. Moved back here. Had Gage.
Oh, wow.
So that's our Cliff Notes version of our 19 years of marriage.
Well, so what brought you back here?
We were trying to decide. Like, we had, like, Omaha, Minneapolis.
Oh, yeah.
Sioux Falls. Is that the 3? I think so. His dad had Parkinson's.
Oh.
And
we put Laverne in the list.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Laverne. And his dad had Parkinson's. And so we wanted to, like, spend the last good years with him. Yep. And we both liked this area. And so but Laverne was too small and too close to our families.
That makes sense.
So close to our mothers, too close to our mothers. And so then who we love. And then we did like Omaha, like airports, and Sioux Falls airports and cities, you know, like kind of like pros and cons, and then decided on Sioux Falls. Like it's close to Laverne, but it's a bigger city.
Yep.
Like after living all around the world, Laverne just seemed like it's cute to go to, but like I need to have like Target and Starbucks.
Yep.
Close.
I know exactly what you mean.
So yeah, so that's kind of our. Then we've been back here 7 years.
Oh wow.
So.
Are you guys planning on hanging around here a while?
Yeah, I think this is our spot. Now Denny's flying privately now, so hopefully we can like fly wherever we want from here. But
yep.
I think this is definitely. It's so nice to have like family to help us and cousins for the kids, and you know, they like Denny would just be a vagabond and like go buy a catamaran and sail the open seas. But the kids, like, they have had both. They have, like, homeschooled because we lived in Germany and traveled Europe. And then they've been, like, in school 180 days, and they prefer school.
That makes
like,
sense.
starting and ending in the same school. And
I can understand.
And I'm
that.
teaching now full-time, so
really?
I have a contract, you know. So, yeah. So I teach 8th grade English
in
Brandon.
How do you like that?
I love it. I love it so
Really?
much. Yeah, and I loved it last year, and I love it even more this year because it's like just different kids and my second time around at the same thing, you know. And it's like this is so much better. Yeah. So I had taught kindergarten in Worthington right out of college. I went to Augie. Then I taught. You can check. And then I taught 5th grade in Texas, which is all for another podcast.
Yep.
It was like Dangerous Minds. And then I taught I subbed in Alaska because we were having babies.
Okay.
And then I taught or subbed preschool in Florida because we were having little ones. Then I taught preschool in Oklahoma because we had little ones. And then when we moved back and Gage was in junior K, I was like, okay, I'm going back. Somebody has to pay the mortgage. Me. I'm the winner. Danny's living his dream and I'm paying the mortgage. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. I'll be the producer from this point on. Is it like check and everything?
Yeah, it's good. The only thing I want to say is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the only ones to use. There's
And you have Triple X. What's his call sign?
right here.
Caden.
MC Bridge.
MC Bridge. Okay.
So, and then it's just these 6.
Okay.
Not these. So don't use 6, 7, 8.
Oh, okay. Those are not real things.
Well, they are. They're just bad setups.
Got it. Bad speaker stuff.
No, bad video.
Got it.
Now, where should I be looking when I'm?
Good question.
Any.
Oh, cool. All right.
Just like you were with me.
Okay.
This was warming it up.
Yeah.
I'm the warm-up crew.
Okay. Well, you're a great warm-up crew.
That's what I think.
All right. Well, how shall we start?
All right, Kaden Lackey, welcome to Fantastic Escapades podcast. Appreciate you. It's really special to have you on.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's so good to be here.
Yeah.
I've been waiting like over months for this at this point.
Yeah. So, I mean, my backstory. This is how we met. You know, my sister-in-law got married, and you were the DJ there.
Indeed.
And maybe you can start us off with this. What I saw was probably one of the best wedding DJs I've ever seen. Like energetic, like handled the crowd well, like just a very attractive, magnetic guy. So, you know, how old are you right now?
24.
24.
Yes.
So what have you learned in your life to put yourself out there in that way?
Yes. So, and like in terms of DJing specifically, or just like, yeah.
Or just life.
So
Maybe when you're behind the booth, it's like an alter ego. And then like in life, it's a little bit like more chill. I don't know.
You know, the funny thing is, it actually is very, very similar between both.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I don't think I know some people when they go into, you know, whatever role they are, especially some form of entertainment role, sometimes you step into a different part of yourself, or, some people put on a mask.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, it's really just, how do I say it? It's like the best part of me comes out.
Yeah.
Then like I really feels like the real part of me comes out when I get to do events like weddings or like other stuff like that.
Yeah. I think a big word for me in life is authenticity,
Yes.
right? So, what does it mean to be authentic and to be behind the booth and like, I don't know, getting the crowd into it?
Absolutely. I think that, so, this actually reminds me of a TED Talk I went to in Sioux Falls here a couple years ago. And one of the speakers spoke about imposter syndrome and how it's something that like she's dealt with, and that the way she actually spoke about it is as if it was this thing that most people deal with, if not everybody. And that, like no matter where you're at, you kind of, there's like this sense of imposter syndrome. And, I want to agree and disagree, like, because there's a part of it where like let's say on this podcast, I don't often do podcasts.
Yeah.
So there's a part where it's kind of like uncomfortable. It's a little weird and whatnot. But at the same time, I feel it kind of connects with like what I do as an MC at weddings and other events. And to the point of authenticity, I find that if you just decide to show up to anything, whether it be this podcast or for me a wedding or whatever, or whatever you're doing, and you decide instead of showing up with these like I need to be this way or that way, and it's more so I need to be myself, and whatever needs to happen will happen. Whatever I need to think or say, it will flow exactly as it needs to. And I mean, that's really what I live by. Not in every moment, goodness, no. But I really try to, whether it be I'm waking up in the morning or I'm, working at, whatever other job, or I'm out to lunch with somebody, or I'm out on the dance floor, I really just try and show up as like Kaden Lackey without thinking, how should I be? And instead just going out there and just being in that moment,
right,
and just seeing how it goes and just trusting it.
Yeah, I mean, as you're talking, I'm thinking of these words, that and you've just hit the nail on the head, like trust, like you're trusting yourself to be in that moment.
Absolutely.
What other word came to mind? Authenticity, which we've already talked about, but I saw myself in you, which is kind of cool because, I think of, when I was growing up and, college or post-college, like I would just dance. I love dancing. And one unique thing that you brought was like, if people weren't dancing, like you went out and danced with them.
Oh yeah.
And it kind of changed the dynamics a little bit. Like, but the cool thing that I think about it is, you might just think of it as dancing because it's fun or whatever, but it communicates like you don't give a crap what anybody thinks, and that's such a cool place to be.
Absolutely.
Compared to, there's some people that, walk through life and they care what everybody thinks about them. Do you feel, we haven't even talked about MC Bridge yet, but have you bridged that gap where you go, and have that ability just to be yourself and not give a crap? Or, have you ever been in that place where you do give a crap what people think?
Yes, that's a wonderful question. So, in fact, I would say I come from a place, I won't go into crazy detail here, but I do come from a place of great people-pleasing, where it felt growing up that I wanted to, I didn't want to disappoint anybody. And even just like a little ounce of disappointment I could hear from like my grandpa or my dad or anybody in my family or friends or whatnot, it was really devastating to me.
Sure.
I remember, being not just a little kid, I remember being a teenager and like doing something small, like washing my grandpa's truck or something, and like, oh, did you see? And like just the lack of like acknowledgement, or if it felt like disappointment, it just kind of, felt like my whole world fell apart over something really small. Sure. And I carried that for a really long time, where it's just like I'd stretch it on to people I would meet that they really had no other influence in my life outside of I really cared in that moment what they thought of me, where it didn't matter before, it does not matter after, but it feels like it means the world in that moment.
Yeah.
So my point is this, that, I mean, today standing here, is that completely gone away? Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. That would be, it would be a total lie to say that I don't care what other people think.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say is that to that point of like being authentic, to that point of like letting go of what's going on up here and whatever you're doing, being in the moment and just trusting, I find myself doing that more than ever before in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that when I come from that place, it's not that I don't care what other people think. It's just that I have the ability to filter what actually matters and what doesn't.
Sure.
So, I mean, for example, if I'm walking, down the street, it does not matter at all, what somebody passing by me thinks of me. Or if I'm driving by in a car, they're driving by, and like somebody who is there for a fraction of a second that you've never seen before, probably will never see again. I mean, the relevance of their opinion is nothing. I mean, outside of if you're being malicious, that's
right,
different.
Of course.
But just being silly or funny yourself, absolutely not. It really means nothing.
Yeah.
And then there's times like this where like you and I, like we have a more personal connection. I've seen you before, I'll see you again.
Yeah.
And I find that it just, how do I say it? I just have more, I guess like the way I want to say it is it feels right to let go.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you do that, it, like when I just kind of stop and think, I'm like, you know what? I might stutter. I might not know what to say. I might do whatever. And that's what I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
is that literally just trusting whatever happens is meant to happen, or there's going, even if it looks bad, that there's some reason for it. It's going to turn around. It's going to become incredible.
Right.
And just really giving into that, I find that it alleviates just a lot of stress. It alleviates a lot of pressure, because when things do go bad, like when I'm at a wedding and my mic's not working, for example, I don't know what to do, and there, I don't have a backup or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what? It's okay.
It's frustrating, but
exactly.
So you speak up, I suppose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like that stuff happens. Like
Yeah.
things will not always go to plan. Often they won't go to plan. And just like letting go and just stepping into like, you know what, I'm going to do my best regardless. Whatever happens, I'm doing my best. And that's the only thing I have control over. And then things in the end up turning out exactly as they need to.
Yeah.
So I know that was a bit roundabout.
No. Do you ever have I saw this the other day. It was a scene of Robin Williams on a late night show. And the guy started off with a comment. He was like, "Hey, Robin, this might be too personal, but," and Robin interrupts him and says, 8 inches. And everybody laughs. But it makes you wonder, like, I know in my life, like, I have loved comedians and I love the way they make me feel.
Yes.
So I've tried to be funny.
Yes.
Instead of like what you're kind of talking about, just being in the moment.
Yes.
So I can see, like, a guy like Robin Williams, like, I mean, he is funny. Everybody's expecting him to be funny, and so is his trying acceptable versus like just being in the moment, or you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like people can tell when you're trying too hard.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
I don't know what you do or what you take with that,
I feel there's a balance too. One of my favorite quotes is, I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but essentially, you're celebrated for in public for what you practice in private. And it's essentially like, imagine like studying for a test. There's a huge difference cramming the night before so you can try and get all the answers right, and then forgetting everything, versus spending a week or 2 weeks or whatever is relevant for you to really go through, understand the information. So you're not just memorizing facts, but you actually understand how whatever subject it is flows. So you do well on that test, but any other test in that subject, you will also do well because you authentically understand the subject.
Sure.
And I see like Robin Williams. I don't know I didn't know him personally. I don't know if he was putting on a mask.
Yeah.
But I guess like my perspective on great comedians is there's a side to them, even if some of them like put on this alter ego or whatnot, there is a side to them that authentically gets it, authentically is funny, authentically like they have no idea what they're going to say in some moments, in like an improv moment, and then they hear the thing and all of a sudden it just resonates and they have a hilarious response. And I guess ultimately to me it's just the more you train yourself to be comfortable in those uncomfortable situations, the more you train yourself to just trust whatever happens, even if things go wrong, that it's going to come back around, the easier it gets, the more confidence you build. And like for a comedian standpoint, my guess is that you would just naturally become funnier because you don't have to think, you just kind of feel and it just flows.
I have that statement in my mind a lot, which is get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes,
you know?
Absolutely.
And so it's no matter what you do, I mean, it could be learning to fly or being an MC or being a comedian or whatever, you know, being a DJ. So let's talk a little bit about MC Bridge and what that means to you. So, once again, I met you as a DJ, but I know you have bigger ambitions. So talk to me a little bit about your journey and kind of where you see yourself going and what MC Bridge means to you.
Absolutely. So I will say that growing up, I remember that, and I'll try and give you the spark notes of the whole process here. I remember being in 8th grade and my teacher talking about like going to college and all that. And I just remember this thought of like I don't really want to do that. That it just doesn't feel right to me. Not that I wasn't academically capable or whatnot, but it just didn't resonate to me. And 4 or 5 years later, I graduated high school and I didn't go to college. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew that that's not really the experience I wanted. And from there, a couple years after I graduated, I ended up going to this personal development event, if people know Tony Robbins. And that was something that really changed my life.
Where was it?
And it was actually over Zoom. It was virtual.
Okay. All right, cool.
This was in the midst of COVID, so there were no live events or whatnot. And I really I thought I would hate it. I actually wanted nothing to do with it, but my aunt had done it, and she just had expressed, how much it would positively impacted her, and she thought I'd like it. So I went, and it really was life-changing. And I remember just on the first day of that event, this feeling of my God, this is what I'm made for. I don't know exactly the details, but I know there's something about what's going on in this event right now that speaks to every part of me, and I need this. So from there, I started to go to more events, and that was awesome. And I thought maybe I'm supposed to be the next Tony Robbins, and which I don't recommend ever thinking you should be anybody but yourself.
Yes. Good.
But and then it slowly changed over the years, where it became and in that process, about a year after that first event, I also became a wedding DJ. Randomly, just an ad on Indeed. I needed a job, and it clicked with me. And over the years of I want to take this direction or that direction, and things not quite feeling right, but finding these little parts along the way that did click, I finally came to the point where I realized that the two pieces I love the most, that resonated about weddings, that resonated about that event and all that, was that I love getting to be on the mic. I love getting to interact with the crowd as a whole and raise the energy in a room.
Yeah.
But I don't care about necessarily being in the spotlight. And not in some oh, I have no ego way, whatnot. In fact, I would almost say it in a way that I know that at this stage in my life, it could be easy to get carried away ego-wise, being the main sage on the stage, essentially.
Yeah.
And I just decided that that's not the piece that even really resonates with me, anyways. So the piece that just resonates is getting to have fun with people. Yeah. Getting to be up there and engage, and that's the thing. And that's what I love about weddings, actually, is that you don't come to a wedding for the DJ, but they get to play a pivotal part in the day. And that's the beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So anyhow, story be told. The other piece is, aside from the engagement, getting to be on the mic and stage and whatnot, I really love like personal development. Something I've always loved is like in a movie where, like, you know, it seems like the hero's been through all this stuff and it's the final battle and like there's no way. Sorry if you've watched Avengers Endgame. I do apologize. I'm going to spoil a little bit, but it's like Captain America at the very end where, you know, Thanos and his whole army is standing there and Captain like gets up and his shield's broken and it just looks like it's lost. Like, how do you win this?
Yeah.
And then the portals start to open up and like all, you know, after, you know, you've watched these movies for a decade, like all these heroes you know and love, like step through, they've come together, and then there's this epic battle and, you know, good wins.
Yeah.
And I see that in every, like in every part of life. I see it waking up in the morning when like your back hurts or you're just groggy, you didn't get good sleep. And it's like, man, like, do I get up and, you know, do what I was made for, or do I sleep in for an extra 5 minutes? And that's kind of like one of those little battles. Or, you know, when, you know, if self-doubt comes along, it's like, man, do I, you know, step into, you know, the part of myself that knows better, that knows what's right, that knows I, you know, don't need to delve into beating myself up, or you know, these other influences, whatever it might be, going to push me down. And I just see that in huge ways in life, in small ways in life. And what my favorite thing to see is when somebody's been struggling with this challenge for so long, they've tried and they failed, and they've tried and they failed, and they get to this point where it feels like they've tried everything and like they've given up or they're about to give it up. And then all of a sudden, like something changes. They get this new piece of information. Somebody new enters their life. Maybe they just look at it in a different way, whatever it is. Yeah. And all of a sudden, like their whole world shifts. All of a sudden, this thing that was impossible becomes possible, and they move through it into this new phase.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it can happen in small ways. It happens in big ways. But it's, to me, it's like the most incredible thing to see people move into this next place of something that they didn't think was possible. And just getting to bring that world of like this fun, engaging, playful environment where people get to go and just have a good time and bring this energy of you can change whatever you want in your life and you can do it now. Yeah. And getting to bring it together and have this community all supporting each other. I mean, to me, that's a lot what a Tony Robbins event is like. Yeah. And to me, I mean, that's what I feel like I was made for, to be part of stuff like that. Yeah. So ultimately, long-winded answer, but that's kind of the journey that I've been on so far.
Okay, so do you see yourself in the role of helping that person?
Yes.
Make that shift? And secondly, do you feel like you've been the person helped? You know, your experience with Tony Robbins, were you on the flip side where you're like trying? You know, talk a little bit about, you know, both sides of the fence there, like being the one who's helped and helping others.
Absolutely. So, and I'll start with a little context for where I was at in life. But right before kind of that event, it was COVID. COVID had just come around. And I was, 19 years old. And at this point in my life, I just recently graduated high school about a year before. I had been with my current girlfriend at the time for almost 4 years. And it just didn't end up panning out. We did long distance for a bit. So I was like kind of in that honeymoon phase, like, oh, I'm going to move up to be with her. It's going to be great. And that happened. And then it just, over the span of 8 or 9 months, it became very clear that we were not right for each other. And we ended up breaking up, and I made a series of very, very terrible decisions. I ended up going to Las Vegas with a friend 3 days later and getting legally married to that friend. And I was romantically intimate with her as well, so there was like a completely destroyed my, any sense of being civil with my ex-girlfriend at the time, playing with, my then wife's heart. And like for me, it was like I never had any ill intentions consciously. Sure. Like I wasn't here to like try and mess with people or cause pain or be a player. Yeah. But for me, it was like, man, like I didn't want to be alone. I didn't know what direction I was heading. I I didn't see it at the time, but like there was absolutely like a strong sense of like just feeling depressed and anxious all the time, and like trying to find somebody else to make me feel better.
Sure.
And just ultimately, I think the theme was feeling like weak, feeling just too weak to do anything for myself, too weak to, like even if I knew better, too weak to actually make a shift.
Sure.
And that carried on. Let's see here. In fact, to Robin Williams' 8-inch question. I won't disclose that, but what I will say is on a very personal experience.
9.5.
Was about a month after I gotten married. Her and I were at the apartment I still had with my ex. My ex and I did not live there at this point, but all our stuff was there.
Yeah.
And my wife and I had gone back to the apartment. We stayed the night, whatever. And then the next day we slept together for the first time. And I just remember like it had initiated, and like it just didn't, like it just kind of was like this whole month of poor decisions caught up to me. And we're like, all right, like, you know what? Let's talk. All this has been not the right call. And we're sitting there on the bed talking. And of course we did not put any clothes on. And I hear the deadbolt to the apartment unlock. And of course, there's only one other person who has the key to this apartment that I had with my ex. So in comes my ex-girlfriend and her little brother and her mom and her mom's boyfriend. And I remember like hearing that deadbolt, and my brain like just shut off. Like it's never happened. Like I've never been in a point where like all thoughts left. I got up, I laid down on the ground next to the bed. I didn't shut the door. I didn't try and get dressed. I didn't try to do anything. I just laid down on the floor and just waited for like the worst possible thing I could ever imagine happening to happen. And of course they came in and they saw, and they were, let's just say, not very pleased. I definitely burned those bridges pretty bad. And I speak about it with levity now because, I mean, that was in, 2020. But, I mean, it truthfully was a very intense experience. And I'm quite sure she would not be listening to the podcast. But if she was, it was an incredibly poor decision. And it's something that I do feel great sorrow for.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a fantastic escapade.
It was,
at this point.
Yes. It's something that belongs in a movie, I would say. Anyhow, we left the apartment, and I just remember leaving and driving with my then wife and thinking like, wow, like I didn't realize life could feel this bad. I didn't realize like you could get this low. And I know there's far lower places you can go than that, but for me that was rock bottom.
Sure, I've been there to those lower places.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how did your wife handle the situation versus how did you handle the situation?
She was in a place where I won't say like in specific, but something very traumatic had happened to her before, like right before we had gotten married. So she was already in a place of just not doing well. And so this was something that was just kind of like added on to all that pressure and heaviness.
Yeah.
So I would say we were in fairly similar places.
Funny how that happens in life. It's like you meet people and, depending on the energy that you're projecting in life, it's like that same type of energy is attracted. It's like, oh.
Absolutely.
I don't have examples jumping into my head right now, but I just know in my life, it's like you meet somebody, you're hanging out with them, and then it's like, oh, I see. Yes. I see why, And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It could be a great thing.
Oh, absolutely.
It could be the positive energy is there.
I mean, like, to your point, I mean, that's how we met.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I've done a lot of weddings at this point, and this is the first time I've been on a podcast for, somebody I've met at a wedding.
Yeah.
And it's just like, there's a reason that, we started talking. There was something, well, now we know, but at the time we didn't know, but there were things that are like similar pieces of energy that just kind of like got us talking, got us thinking about what more there could be.
Right.
And so, I mean, absolutely. And that happens on the negative side too. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think of it kind of like, what did they say? what's that saying? It was I know it was a part of a song in Mufasa, the recent Disney movie, but if you want to go, Jess, help me remember. If you want to go, I know the end. There's a beginning, but then the end is if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go far, go together. If you want to go something else, go alone. If you want to go quick, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Something like that.
Okay, that makes total sense.
But that part of if you want to go far, go together sticks in my head, and to a certain extent, it's a little bit how I operate in the world. As I run into people, as I meet people, like who has that energy, that ambitious energy to do something big.
Yes.
To, go to the next level, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what I think, and you always wonder, like, hey, could we go far together?
Yes.
And it's just a curiosity, really. And you might find, like your girlfriend, which you realized that you were not a fit for each other, and that's okay. I believe that's okay.
Yes.
And so, maybe you weren't meant to go far together, and every relationship, whether it's a business relationship or a romantic relationship, they are valuable and they mean something in the moment.
Yes.
Right. And every one of us takes something from those relationships. I've got girlfriends that I've had in the past, and they still, mean something to me in terms of what I've learned from them, what I've taken from them. And I've had lots of friends in my life. Many are still in my life. Some I really don't talk to, but I still have taken something in my life, and they still cross my mind. I wonder how he's doing, or I wonder how she's doing, so it's like everything matters, and it's okay that people go their own ways, or that it's okay that people go far together. What an interesting story, though. It cracks me up. I sent you that video on David Dobrik, who kind of made, or kind of pranked his older friend, and married his mom. But yet that whole situation makes me kind of think of something like that. But it seems like you and your wife were on the same page. It wasn't like you were duping her or anything like that. It was kind of like, hey, let's do this fun thing. You were, if I'm correct, like you have to be completely sober. You go through the court system in Las Vegas. It can't be something like you're high on drugs or drinking alcohol and get a marriage license.
Absolutely.
Is that true?
That is totally true. They have all around the courthouse, at least this was 4 or 5 years ago, but when you go to get the marriage license, they have like signs and whatnot everywhere that if there's any sign of intoxication, of being high, being drunk, they will not serve you. So in order to actually get the license, maybe not the chapel, but the license itself, you do have to be sober and conscious.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And so was it kind of fun for her? Like, do you think, or how do you think she's shaped through the experience of getting married and then having an amicable divorce, or what do they say, a conscious uncoupling?
Yes.
Like Gwyneth Paltrow?
Well, so...
And Chris Martin, a conscious uncoupling.
That's a good question. It would be easy for me, it's easy for me to speak about my own experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I, of course, have my perspective of how it was for her. But I will acknowledge that during that time in my life, I didn't often try and step into her shoes. So I do think that, there was an understanding that we're not like getting married to be together forever, that, but I think that we are also both coming from a place of hurt, different types of hurt. And that this was just something that seemed like, I don't know if a good idea. To me, it was a funny idea. Mm-hmm. And to her, I actually not 100% sure what was the driving factor. Mm-hmm. If it was just like things were not good elsewhere, so this was just something to do, something to distract. Maybe it was funny.
Yeah.
But I think that, well, before I blab anymore, can you remind me of the specific question?
We'll just keep going. I think of, Jesse might say that don't take marriage advice from me, but I've studied women in my life for years and years and years. And one of the things that I found is if a woman wants to be around you, she likes you. Just if she wants to be around you. So I don't know this woman at all, but my guess, the fact that she went to Vegas with you, the fact that like she married you, my guess is there's a part of her that wanted to be the one that was chosen as well, right? To go along with that. And even if the pretense was that, hey, this isn't forever, my guess is she liked you. That's my guess.
That's you know what? I honestly, that's something to think about. It's something I haven't thought about in a long time. And I think that I do absolutely agree with you. Obviously, if she was repulsed by me, then there wouldn't have been any sense of hanging out or whatnot. I think it probably was a mix of, there was like some similar energy, things that we had in common that brought us together. I think that the real glue for that time, though, was the phrase trauma bonding. I think that we were both going through our own types of intense times, and then we happened to kind of have each other's back in some fashion during that time.
Yeah. So that's a great question. What would you say to those people out there that maybe have gone through something hard and, the call it trauma, call it just something difficult in life, whatever you want to call it, what is the way through? What is the way over, around, in your experience to basically, who knows if you're ever completely healed from something like that, whatever it is.
Yes.
But where it's just like, it doesn't hold anything over you anymore.
Absolutely.
What can you offer there?
So, well, first things first, that was lemon water, by the way, not some vodka mix. But so I guess the way I want to answer that question is two-part. I always like to leave open that I don't know everything. I'm 24, so there are people with lots more like time experience than me. There are people with lots more actual volume of experiences than me. So this is just the perspective I've developed after 24 years of my life. But I guess in that perspective, I found that the word for me I like to use is faith. And I don't even mean that necessarily in a spiritual sense. I mean, like I was talking about trust or authenticity, or we were talking about trust and authenticity earlier. And like the thing that gets me through times like that would be the sense of faith that like the sun rises again tomorrow. Like it might be night right now. It might be the darkest night you've ever experienced. And when you're in those places, I mean, it's often so hard to see anything in front of you. It's often so hard to believe that there's any way out of the tunnel. And the only light that you can have sometimes is choosing to believe that there is something more, that there's a reason for it, that there's a way out, that you're going to find the way out, that it's all going to come together and make sense. And even if it's not today or tomorrow or this month or this year, I mean, that sometimes you don't have control of the speed of things that you're going through or how profound or impactful, whether good or bad, whatever you're going through is, you do always have control. What it means to you in that moment and what you believe is going to, happen moving forward, that it will, get worse or get better. So I would just say that remember that power that you have, that nothing has meaning except the meaning you give it. And that no matter where you're headed, you get to choose the direction you're pointed in.
Yeah, that's great. My mind's going in a couple different directions here. One, though, is you think of people who get in their head this idea that the pain is so excruciating, I need to leave life. And I mean, that's just a tragedy, because I think if people really knew, no matter how bad it is, no matter how bad it is in their life, I don't think they realize how valuable their life is to others.
Absolutely.
You know, and sometimes it just takes somebody saying something to them, say, hey, you matter to me, or like, it's so great that you're a part of this life, or a part of my life, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think, so segue, you know, go back to, now you're on the flip side, you've gone to Tony Robbins. You've been the one that's been helped.
Yes.
What kind of help have you offered others? You know, where have you put yourself out there? And help is a tough thing. I've learned this. Like, one of my friends called me, or called my program, the DIP program, the Dentist Improvement Plan. Meaning I would just go around like, oh man, it looks like you need some help working out. You know, it's not a compliment.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, how do you help others, but also do it in a way that's tactful, or where they're coming to you?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
So, and I feel to effectively answer that question, I need to finish my answer to how I had been helped.
Sure.
So point with, and I as you can tell now, I love to take a small story and really stretch it.
Yeah.
But so basically, during that summer, the breakup and the marriage, there was some other stuff where it was just more poor decisions. And I mean, like, I had another low point out, like, after the apartment day where we were driving away, and I just felt like rock bottom. I had another point that was like that during that a couple months after. And the thing that got me out of it was that Tony Robbins event.
Okay.
And to me, it wasn't like I needed specifically Tony Robbins to do this. And it's not that, it's like he pushed me through. It's not like that. The thing for me, though, that really had clicked and resonated was it's so easy to get stuck in a rut. And whether it be like, oh, you live in the same place, you're around the same people, you work the same job, whatever, it's so easy to start believing that life is a certain way, and you can change it, but you can't really change it, so people end up like, oh, it's too scary, to leave behind this job. I don't like it, but it pays the bills. What else would I do? And that, the certainty of whatever it is, even if that thing like is
comfort.
Dragging you down, exactly, like that comfort, that traps a lot of people, including myself, all the time, in big ways and small ways. But for me, it was like the comfort of the way I was living, and like jumping from person to person, making these poor decisions and not being intentional or aware of other people. It was very comfortable, and it was a very comfortable rut. And the event for me, I think here's the thing that stood out the most, and I'll flip it around to kind of how I like to influence other people's lives.
Sure.
I remember on the first day, like I remember going in and sitting back, and it was this Zoom seminar, and I was like, man, like this is stupid. Like it's gonna be 4 days, like they're long. They're like 50 hours in 4 days. Yeah. I was like, man, like why did I sign up for this? Fuck. And I remember like they came out on stage at first, like dancing and trying to get everybody hyped. I'm like, man, like what is this bullshit? Yeah. And then Tony comes out on stage and he starts, speaking about like different like personal development elements, or I mean, it really common sense stuff you hear all the time. But it would just kind of, it started to really like resonate for me. That I remember this thought popping up like, oh man, that makes sense. Oh man, like this something else is possible, but I can't do it. Like I can't make that decision. I'm too weak. I can't do it. And it was like throughout the day progressively.
Like things are cracking.
Exactly. That's like the foundation I'd built over 20 years of life of like, I can't do it. I can't do it. It just kept like, it was like an echo chamber. It got louder and louder. And like, it felt more and more painful. Like this thought of like, I can't do it, because like it became more and more clear that wasn't true. And I'll never forget. I remember he was talking about this concept called like living in a beautiful state. And essentially he was saying like, no matter what, you don't have control of what happens to you. You don't have control of a lot of aspects of your life, but you do have total control over how you're viewing them, over the meaning it gives you. And you have the ability in this moment right now to choose to live in a beautiful state no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean perfection. That doesn't mean, oh my gosh, I'm blissed out forever or nothing ever impacts me. Absolutely not. But what it means is recognizing that when you're in any moment, this one or any future moment coming, when you catch it, like, oh wait, like I get to choose what, even if it's the worst thing ever, I get to choose what does this mean? And I can choose a really beautiful, impactful, powerful reason why this is the best thing that could happen. Or if not the best thing, this is not as bad. Even if it's not this total shift, you can lighten the load of things. And for me, it was like, I just remember like, it was kind of this like ultimate clash inside of myself. I can't do it. And finally I was like, you know what? That's fucking bullshit. And I remember like yelling and erupting. For me, that was something that really resonated. And then from that point forward, it's not like I was this different person.
Like, just get it out.
it just like that. Yeah. It was like from that point forward, it was just like this, not that I was a completely different person. It was like this part of me that hadn't seen the light of day for a long time was awake, was able to actually, come out and be here and be present. And really, ultimately, it was just I was able to be more of myself. I unlearned something that had beat me down for a long time. Yeah. And it became addicting at that point. Like this, not in like some like, oh, I got to go to every seminar, but in the sense of like, wait a second, holy smokes, that's me. And I chose to do that. Now I can do this with, like I can deepen this, or I can find a different part of my life where I'm just taking on way too much pressure, or I'm, feeling like an imposter, or I'm not like, I just don't like how I'm treating other people or something, whatever. Yeah. And I can let it go. I can let that part go, and I can choose to be different. I can make a different decision right now. Yeah. So on the flip side of things, and then of course, like that's expanded for me, like over the span of 4 or 5 years. I mean, I've had a lot of depth to the part of myself of like finding beautiful meanings and stuff. I've found a variety of different parts of myself that I didn't know were there, that I've gotten to work on and mature. And I've expanded from one color to a rainbow since since I've begun my journey. But I found that people don't always want help. Often they don't want help, and that's a really cool place to be, because you can. I've heard Tony talk about this analogy of like the way he sees it. If your best friend or your brother, your sister, whoever, somebody you really care about, if they're in a burning building and they're asleep, are you going to try and like go up and knock on the door and it's not budging or something? She's like, oh, too bad.
Guess he doesn't want help.
So well, no, of course not. You're going to beat down whatever you got to do. You're going to break the door if you need to. Yeah. And you're going to get up there and you're going to get to them. And if they're not waking up, you're going to be like, oh, I tried. It's like, well, no, like you're going to shake them awake. And there's a point though where it's like he talks about where it's like if they don't want to come with you, because they like, obviously in a burning building, they'll see the fire, they'll feel the heat. But sometimes your friend is in an emotional burning building, but they can't see it. Right. That's just the way life is to them, and they don't want to leave. Yeah. And I remember Tony's response to that as well. If you got to clunk them over the head and throw them over your shoulder, you got to do what you got to do to get them out of the fire. Yeah. And there is a point where that's necessary. If somebody's on the brink of ending their life because they don't want to be here, I certainly wouldn't just be like, well, like they don't want to stay around, so I'm going to let them
have a good day,
end it. No, absolutely not. But in most cases, it's not that extreme. Right. So the approach I like to take is this: I like to do my absolute best to be totally present with somebody, to like really like not just so I can understand and analyze them, but like set all that BS aside and even intentionally like set the intention in myself. I want to get to know this person, or if I know them, I want to get to really understand them as best as I can, authentically, curiously, not for any reason other than they're a beautiful human being and I have the ability to like see into them and acknowledge them and hear them. And then from that point, something really magical happens where when people start to, when they don't feel judged and they feel listened to and heard and understood, you begin to start having an influence. Or like saying, I mean, like that happens with everybody. Like obviously Tony's had an influence on me. You have an influence on me. Everybody has an impact and an influence, and you get to choose, am I going to be a negative impact or a positive, have a positive one? And so for like somebody who doesn't want to change, it kind of just boils down into like, if somebody weighs, like, 300, 400, whatever pounds, nothing wrong with that. No you have to walk in with like completely letting go of all judgment, because you know what? That is absolutely their choice, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't matter. Like if that is the way they want to live, beautiful. Yeah. Perfect. The thing that's important is to, when you get to like really be present and understand, then you get to see, okay, why do they weigh 300 pounds? Is it because they like absolutely fully enjoy their lifestyle and they love food? They're a connoisseur. They go out to all these places. They try all these foods. And to them, it's just the experience is what life's about. It's like, weighing 3 pounds, that's fine. I look great, baby. Like I love my life. And that is absolutely the reality for a lot of people. And that's perfect. If that's where they live, who cares? Like if let's say that weighing that much cut off 10 years of their life for like, some health reason, you know what? They were aware of that and they chose to live that way anyhow. And as long as it wasn't maliciously hurting other people, perfect. Like just support that, love them.
But you show up in a non-judgmental way.
Exactly. And I think that's ultimately what I would like to say, because there's the flip side too. You show up in that non-judgmental way, and like maybe it's not that they're this connoisseur. Maybe it's that there's some underlying problem going on there with their life, whether new or old trauma. And the way that they respond to that is they eat a lot, and they don't like the way that they look, and they don't feel good, and they don't like where they're at all, but they feel stuck. Right. And the way you don't change that is being like, oh, all right, like you weigh a lot. Let's get you to the gym, or let's get you on a diet plan. People feel judged. They want to step away from that. Right. That hurts. And there's a good way to use pain. It's like trying to break
that wall down immediately rather than
elegantly
cracking it.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I remember our meeting at the Source and having coffee.
Oh yeah.
And I just wanted to say, like, I shared things with you because I felt like you're in a place of non-judgment. Right. And sometimes some people would say I hold cards pretty close. Like I don't just share everything in my life very often, Yes. So it's something that I experienced, I feel like I can just be authentic, be myself with you, which is a great place to be.
And I appreciate that a great deal.
It's one of my favorite things about Jessie. I can be authentic and be myself with her.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So what does this mean going forward? Meaning, if you are helping people and you're showing up in this non-judgmental way, what's the delivery method? What's the way that you're showing up for people? Maybe you're my father-in-law, Jesse's dad. I asked him, what's the meaning of life? And he said to help other people, So maybe that's a good foundation. Maybe that's where everybody is, or maybe that's where you're at. Is that the foundation, helping people, or is there something else foundational?
I think that, honestly, I think that that's such a good place to be, like helping other people being the point. And at the end of the day, I think and I mean, like, this is my perspective, but I feel that some version of that, maybe for you it's, love is the answer, or, God is the answer, or whatever. And I think ultimately, if you take a step back, I think like all of that boils down into the same thing about getting to like connect with other people and leave somebody else or leave a place or thing, whatever, better than you found it.
Yep.
Because even imagine a situation in life where it's like, I could go to this place and like I can receive, like I can build myself up in some capacity, or I can go to this place and I can give, and it feels good, to go make a lot of money. Like there's obviously a lot of benefit. There's a lot of reason a lot of people either do it or try to do it. But it feels completely different to go to a place and be like, you know what, my cup is overflowing. Or even if my cup's not overflowing, I have a little bit to give, and I'm going to give that little bit that I have.
Yeah.
And the funny thing that happens is when you give, it comes back to you. And it doesn't just come back. It's like 10 times what comes back. So you go out and you give your time and your energy and your love, or you help somebody. And all of a sudden, in ways that, aren't even connected to that at all, it comes back to you. And, in times that you need it. And it just, I feel that some version of getting to like grow and contribute is like ultimately what we're after.
Yeah. I think, I've got my own hurdles to get over. I'm just thinking of the things that I envision in my life, the things I want to do. And I do have this core feeling of helping people. I've had to tweak that a little bit because of the Dennis improvement plan, the Denny improvement plan, where it's just like, hey, you're overweight, let's get to the gym. Like that was me, offending rather than being non-judgmental and being open to, or inviting is a great word.
Yes.
Inviting them to
absolutely
share and being a place to help. And one of the avenues that I see that I could really be helpful is on YouTube or social media, and presenting, that's the reason we're doing this podcast right now, or presenting my own conversation with people. But there's that little bit of fear in me, and it's overcoming what will people close to me think, what will people think, but it's knowing that, hey, I need to put myself out there. I need to provide people a recipe or a way to improve, or something that they can either just go forward and take it, or start a relationship. Anyway, the world is so small now with social media, where you can have that impact on people in your community that you create. But it's like, that's the thing. So I have a staged approach. Like, I feel very comfortable having a conversation with you right now.
Yeah.
And hey, all the people out there, they might be there, but I have a hard time being the only person in the room and saying, hey, I'm talking to you. You're on the other side of the camera. I can't see you, but and you've done it a couple times. Like, hey, I'm talking to somebody.
Yes.
And so, what thoughts do you have about overcoming those hurdles? And just doing it. And what I've found is, even though it's a hurdle to do this podcast and set it up, you get better at it quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh man, that brings me multiple places. I think the first thing that feels most like true is actually kind of tying everything together. We started with trust, authenticity. And you talked about how, this hurdle, this fear, like, man, what will people close to me think? And the really cool thing is that when you show up authentically, and that authentically, there can be parts of that don't look very attractive. Like something that, like for me, as you've noticed, I like to talk. And when I tell a story, I don't give you like the exact clear points. I don't give you the spark notes. I really like to tell you all the details. And that can be fun in some aspects. Some people might love that. And some people are like, come on, get to the point, man. Like, I can't listen to this. And probably shut it off. You're probably not here anymore. And you know what? That's authentic. Will that be authentically me 10 years from now? Maybe, maybe not. But right now it is, and I'm doing my best. So I think that to that point, it's like when you show up in this authentic way, when you're pursuing something that authentically speaks to you, because there's a reason you're pursuing like this podcast versus starting, a sewage, removal company or something, right?
Yeah.
Like there could be money in waste removal, but there's something that speaks to you at a deep level here is my guess.
Yeah.
So when you have a pursuit that speaks to you, that you feel is right, and you show up, even if it doesn't look great in all the ways, even if there's fear and there's ways that you're speaking too long or whatever, but you just show up authentically and you keep doing it. Like you said, you get better. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You get a little bit better next time and the next time and the next time.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden what happens is over time, A, you get really darn good at the thing. But B, you start to attract people that they see the vision. They see, oh my gosh, here's another authentic human.
Yeah.
And it just has so much impact. Either it's other people who are being genuine and it brings them to you and it brings you to them, and all of a sudden you have beautiful new relationships and friendships, you have new business ventures, you have new raving fans, you've had huge impacts on their life, they impact your life, they support you in times that are difficult because those will come, and other hurdles. And then the people that don't see the vision, which will always be the case, and it's not that they're bad or wrong or whatever, sometimes malicious, but sometimes they just can't see it, it doesn't click for them.
Right.
You start to see like, oh wait, like I have all these people that do get it and some people that don't get it, and that's cool because there are they're doing their thing.
Right.
And there's parts of their life I get and parts of their life I don't get. We're not meant for everybody.
Yep.
Other people aren't, there's not everybody out there meant for us.
Yep.
So we end up finding the right people. We end up finding the right support. We end up finding the right skill. And it all just kind of comes along to showing up authentically and pursuing something that's authentically worth it to you.
Yeah. I think vulnerability is another great word. Like, you've been vulnerable just in our conversations in this podcast. And it makes me think of this study they did where they had a board that was either it was like a hiring board type of thing.
Yes.
And they had actors coming in for interviews. Okay. So the board was supposed to pick the best interviewee.
Yes.
Okay. And what the actors did is one came in and they acted perfect. They came in, they put their coffee cup on the table, they sat, they were dressed well, everything was perfect, right? And they go out and they have another one come in and they fumble the coffee and they spill on themselves. They have this beautiful white dress on or white shirt on and coffee's all over it and they're just embarrassed or whatever. But the panel did not know that this was a test. And do you know what who they hired over and over again?
My guess is the person who's like more authentic.
Yes, more authentic, more vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
They made a mistake. They're human. They spilled the coffee on themselves. And that's, no matter how the interview went, their heart went out to the vulnerability.
Yes.
To the authenticity, to the I'm human, I make mistakes, I spilled coffee on myself. And it was a pretty clear result, basically.
Yes.
So it's pretty interesting, and I know it just from being a consumer of content, a consumer of YouTube or whatever. Like, the human beings that are sharing their life story, sharing the hard things, the crazy stories, the fantastic escapades of their life. I'm like, wow, like how, like, it's almost like envious. Like, how do they do that? How do they share these hard things and be vulnerable? Because there's that part of you that wants to just hold it in tight.
Absolutely.
But there's something very special, and I feel it with you. Like, just having a conversation, you're so vulnerable and share so well in a nice way. Like, oh, okay, it's very human. I've been there before. I've made mistakes like that before.
Oh yeah.
you know?
Well, and like something, and then that leads me into the last point with this I wanted to add. The really cool thing about showing up and being authentic and being vulnerable is I mean, you attract other people that are that way too. And it doesn't matter. Maybe somebody's like super has every single card on the table. They literally tell anyone anything. And maybe there are people who are authentic. They just, maybe not up front. And maybe they share less overall, or maybe that they kind of wait a little bit to kind of see who they want to share everything with.
Who am I safe with?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, like, there's differences between that, but ultimately it's people being, themselves authentic and vulnerable. So like ultimately that's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But there are also people that do feel that, that they need to put on a mask, that people can't see who I really am. They can't see the real me deep down here. So I gotta hide. Maybe they do it intentionally. Maybe they do it completely unconsciously. And the really cool thing about being vulnerable is when somebody sees you be authentic and give your heart out and be vulnerable, it shows them a real actual experience of somebody doing this thing that they're scared of. I mean, because ultimately, like, people, you don't put your heart, you don't put your heart out of there out of fear. Whatever it is, I mean, you can describe it with a million different words or situations, but it's fear that, like, you won't be accepted, ultimately fear that you're going to get hurt in some capacity.
Sure.
But when you see, like, this example of somebody who sets all that aside, who understands, there's this intelligence and intentionality, understanding that, you know what, in this vulnerability I'm showing, I could get hurt. The people I love and really do care about what they have to say, they could think I look stupid. I mean, this could go viral, and millions of people could look at me like I'm a buffoon. But aside from all that potential downside, I'm going to choose to be vulnerable and authentic anyways.
Right.
It's worth it to me. The risk is worth it. And when people who aren't in that space see that level of vulnerability, and, like, I mean, you feel it. You, like, authentically feel it, and then it kind of, like, starts to create this cracks in their mask, in this foundation, and not in this way of, like, you weigh too much, let's take you to the gym, and you're trying to help. It's this natural way of them getting influenced in a beautiful way, not negatively influenced, not let me, try and get you to buy my program, but in this way of, like, well, wait, there are other people that are actually, make mistakes, and, like, showing people even the crude sides of themselves. I didn't know I could do that. Maybe I'll do that a little bit. And then all of a sudden they start to be just a little bit more vulnerable. And then they see more of it, and they start to meet people too. They start to attract people that are more vulnerable. And then it just starts this little spiral where things get better and better. And all of a sudden, you take that, 1 degree shift, right? Like, you have this trajectory, you don't change it all. Well, you're very clear on the destination, good or bad. But you have a 1% shift. One day, basically same track, a week, a month, whatever, barely any difference. You put that out a year, 5 years, 10 years, even that 1% shift, which if you're doing 1% today, there's probably going to be a bit more and a bit more and a bit more over time. I mean, naturally you ended up in a completely different place.
Right.
And I mean, like, I want to also mention, like, with people who, don't want to be here anymore. Like, I'm not here to say, like, I have all the answers, come speak to me, and, like, you want to end your life. Yeah. But I will say this, that I authentically feel that there's a reason that each and every one of us are here. Wherever that reason comes from, that purpose comes from, whatever. I'm not here to speak about, your beliefs in that aspect. All I'm saying is that there is a purpose. There is a reason that each and every person is here. And I strongly believe that that reason is not to come and suffer for your entire existence to the point of just ending it and having that be the end of your story. I think there's always the potential for a comeback story. There's always the potential to take whatever you've been through, however you're feeling, no matter how deep in that tunnel you are, how dark it is, to turn that around. And even if it takes a great deal of time to get out of it, that you can. And then you have that experience where now there's other people who are in that place that they don't want to be here anymore, and you've been there and you get it and you understand in ways I could never understand, and now you get to have an authentic impact on them, and all of a sudden you have this ripple onto one person, they have a ripple into more people and more people, and you start to have, just by simply being vulnerable and authentic, you start to impact literal countless lives indirectly, but if you weren't authentic, those lives would not have been impacted.
Right.
So I just see there being so much importance and beauty by the simple act of being yourself, and just trusting that even if you look a bit silly, even if you make a mistake, even if you're in a dark place, that it will turn out where it needs to go, and you will have exactly the impact, a profound impact that you need to have.
Yeah. I heard one person say, "Hey, it's a selfish act to not put yourself out there, and because you have an impact to provide." And while you were talking, I was thinking, love is this way, right? Like I think of my love with Jesse. Like you are being in a very vulnerable state to love someone, to basically say, I know I'm going to get hurt. I know I might get hurt by this, but I'm going to love anyway. And how many times have people been hurt by relationships, and then they're like, now they start to hold that love. So how's just transitioning a little bit in love? I know you're engaged, correct?
Yes.
So how is that relationship going?
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. Live in a beautiful state?
It's a very beautiful state.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, it's like that. I really could talk all day about it, about all these different aspects. But to keep it really simple, I guess for me, it's like there's this level of vulnerability. And vulnerability in a relationship, it only works long term when both people are vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying that, if one person's vulnerable and the other's not, that, it's going to shut the other person down. Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. But it will never create depth in the relationship. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, in a romantic setting, it ultimately will either be a prolonged relationship that, of two people that are not in the right, maybe either shouldn't be together or not just having the depth of a relationship they could. Mm-hmm. But I guess, for me, it's just she is, and Mariana, just so I can call her by name, mm-hmm. She is somebody who, we just have so much that matters in common. Mm-hmm. So much, obviously, we're not the same person,
right?
But there's these big values, the way that we, view life at large, what we want to, for our future, where we want to live, a family, our view, spirituality and, religion, all that. Mm-hmm. There's all these big things that connect. Yep. We either really agree or we see things similar enough where it still clicks powerfully. And that's such a strong place to come from, because I've been in many relationships where it's like, oh, wow, you're hot. Oh, you think I'm hot? All right, let's hook up. Uh-huh. And, that can be a place of fun for a night. Yeah. But, life isn't about one night, right? Life is about the moment, but life isn't about, one, single day. Yeah. So if you want a long-term, lasting relationship, and I'll just say with Marianne and I've just found it so important that we have all these really important things in common. Yeah. But aside, that's cool. But if there's not this place, the other thing that really has created this powerful relationship for us mm-hmm. is that vulnerability. Sure. And the ability to communicate how we're feeling. Mm-hmm. Because what's happened so often is somebody's been hurt in the past, and all of a sudden, they see their partner acting in some way, they say something, whatever, that reminds them of some past, relationship they've been in, and all of a sudden they put up this wall. It's like, oh shoot, I've seen this before. I don't want to get hurt. They recede, and then all of a sudden, it creates this argument, this fight that has nothing to do with the situation or the person, and it can really easily be solved just by opening your heart back up on both sides and talking. Yeah. And that I've had just the great grace of that's who Mariana is. Uh-huh. Of course, we have disagreements. We see some things differently. But then what we do is we take a little bit of time to just We're like, all right, wait, like maybe we need a moment to relax. Let's just breathe for a second. And then we come and we talk.
Yeah.
And then even if we don't completely agree on something, we dig down and be like, was this really that important? No, it actually isn't. And then we reestablish this depth in, like of why we're together in the first place and what actually matters to us.
Yeah.
And that's only possible, I found, that with that vulnerability and communication.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I just really, it's been a dream. It's just been a dream to wake up every day and be next to her.
That's how I feel about Jessie.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, I do actually. I mean, look at her. She's cute.
Well, I gotta ask. I mean, I've been in my relationship for about a year, but you've been in yours for over 19 years, married for 19 years.
Yeah, we just had our 19th wedding anniversary.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, like, what? I know she said like be weary of marriage, but I'm actually
only one more.
interested.
Well, we're just trying to make it to 20. If we can make it there, then
I got you. Oh, but like, what's been something that you found over 19 years that's really stuck out for you? That's been important.
The biggest thing is the first thing that comes to mind is that the person you marry, you should never hold them up as your everything, right? Like I went in a little with the naive idea that she would just be everything to me.
Yes.
So it's like I almost like dropped, friends or other endeavors or things. And here's the secret. Women don't want to be the adventure. They want to go on the adventure with you. Right? And I think that would probably be the number one thing that I've learned as a man is to be that adventurer, be the creator of the adventure, and invite her along with me.
Jesse, what do you think about that?
He's definitely brought me on.
Oh, that,
Yeah.
that's
Like a roller coaster.
oh yes,
High highs, low lows.
I can absolutely see that.
Gosh, we're gonna have to mic her up. She said I brought her on a roller coaster. That's true. Okay, so here's another one. I think that I probably loved in a very conditional way, and I think I'm done apologizing for it. But to move to a place of unconditional love,
Yes.
is I don't think it's easy. I think it happens over time. But it's like, can you, and maybe this is a place of non-judgment, like even if you're sitting down with somebody that you don't know, is it unconditional love just to be with that person in a non-judgmental place, right? To love somebody unconditionally right now, right? And I would say I had this idea of what your wife is, what she should be,
Yes.
And so there's a lot of me that I loved her conditionally. And I would say the place that I am now, I don't know how many years it's been, but it's been a continuous like decrease of conditional love towards unconditional love.
Yes.
Which is I love her the way she is, who she is. And it's just amazing. I just give her that space to be who she is, and I find it delightful. I do. And even when I'm just frustrated with her, like what is going on? And then when I feel like that, usually she's on her period. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we do have that joke, like Twilight Zone, like there's something going on here. Oh, I got it.
Well, that's awesome.
But it's mostly fun. So, yeah, I mean, you learn a lot of lessons, and you have to learn them.
Yes.
Like I couldn't sit here at 19 years of being married in my relationship and suggest to you like, oh, do this or do that. Like it's like you just have to go into life, make as many mistakes as you can quickly, and learn from those mistakes quickly. And, you know, if you're meant to be, you know, and if you want to go far, go together.
Yep.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it is probably the best venture and most successful venture I've ever had, if you want to call it that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
You know, the honest thing is I wouldn't work. I wouldn't do anything because I've got two parts to this. Because I love family. Like, I love being with her. I love being with the kids. I love being a dad that's involved in the kids' lives.
Yes.
All right. But there's something missing when you're the man and you're not going out into the world. Right. And it's almost like you need to go out into the world and you need to go on that adventure. You need to go climb that mountain, whether it's a business or a mountain or, you know, an endeavor or a dream, because everybody gets too comfortable with you around, you know, and it's almost like it's not meant to be that way.
Yeah.
Like, you need to go out into the woods and hunt.
Absolutely.
You know, type of thing. So, but, you know, for a guy who loves being with his family, like, I would do it all the time. I love it. So
that's a beautiful place to be.
So if we shift just a little bit, you know, going back to MC Bridge.
Oh, yes.
You know, what's the vision of MC Bridge into the future?
Yes. So, well, and to briefly explain MC Bridge, because I know it can sound a little unique of a choice at first. It comes from this place of, I mean, like, something that's big in the personal development world is an empowering identity. Because, I mean, and ultimately, like, it doesn't need to be a personal development thing. I mean, ultimately, in your life, you operate under a set of beliefs and values and whatnot. And if you bring all that stuff together, everything that you believe, every way you see the world, all your experiences, you bring it together. And I mean, it's ultimately, you know, your identity, the way you see yourself. And so many of our choices, you know, so many and emotions, feelings, your experience of life, I mean, it comes through that filter of, you know, like, how you see yourself. And something that we talk about in the personal development world is being really intentional with the identity you want to show up with, because it's a filter for everything. And then B, like, it helps a lot to give that identity a name, because that just it's like calling your dog. It's like hey, Fido, come here. And then, you know, like, when your dog knows its name, comes right to you. I mean, same concept with the identity. Like, you create a sense of, like, you know, what you call it, and then, or, like, you know, essentially call yourself when you're in this place. And, like, different rituals or different things that you say or different ways you use your body or different activities you do. For me, like, running is one that brings you into that place where, you know, whoever you need to be in a moment. So anyhow, I spent a long time thinking about, what do I want that name to be? Originally, I chose the Captain because it sounds cool, right? You know, I'm the captain of my destiny. And it kind of worked, so I kept with it. But it just didn't quite fit, and I tried to do all these different names through the years. The only one I can think of is, like, the Machine. Like, I don't know about that. But finally, actually, just a month ago, I was volunteering at this. It's called the Global Youth Leadership Summit. It's like this summer camp out in San Diego, and they talk about this concept. And I thought about it. I'm like, I don't know, the captain, but it doesn't feel right. And I just had these series of experiences where I realized that, oh my gosh, like, what do I love to do more than anything? I love to bring people together to see, oh my gosh, you know, he would get along with her so well. They could, like, go, you know, have this beautiful relationship, or maybe a friendship, or maybe a business venture, whatever. Or, like, oh my gosh, like, this person needs to see this resource or visit this place or whatever. I love when, you know, making this connection where 2 + 2 = 1,000. And I also found that I love being on stage. I love being on mic. That's part of what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't need to be like in the spotlight, right?
Yeah.
And I also I don't really want that to be my primary thing where it's all focused on what I have to say.
Sure.
I love to help bring other people up. Actually, that's another piece I want to share is like with what I want to do, what I'm building my company for,
Mm-hmm.
is I could go out and I could build all this content and go be a guru on the internet and, do events and whatnot. And that's fine. And there is obviously value in that. There's people who do it very well,
Mm-hmm.
very authentically and have profound impact.
Sure.
But I found that they have impact on their community versus if I go out and instead of trying to impact this large group of people, instead if I focus on the people, helping the people, impacting the people who then go out on the stage, who go out and create these programs and events and whatnot, and I provide them the support, then effectively what I get to do is I get to multiply my impact exponentially. Instead of impacting my community, I'm impacting all these guys and gals who are then going out and impacting all of their communities.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you bring all that together. I'm like, what is a bridge? Like it just kind of popped into me.
Yeah.
You know what else? I will share the last piece because why bridge specifically? Last December we were going to adopt this dog. We fostered him for 6 days, and he had gotten off the leash, got hit by a car. And that was actually I've lost my mom, I've lost a best friend, and that was actually one of the most devastating experiences I've had. And I remember we got this little clay print back from when they cremated him, and on that little booklet with the clay print, it had this little poem about it basically, I don't remember the bulk of the poem, but it ended with, I'll meet you one day again on the Rainbow Bridge.
Okay.
And I remember reading that and just sobbing. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then anytime I thought about the Rainbow Bridge, it just always, brought me to tears.
Yeah.
And during that, GYLS event I went to, I told that story a couple times, and I just cried uncontrollably. So I remember there was this moment I was just really going through it at the event.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what, it's time, it's finally time, to have that new identity show up.
Yeah.
And I just kind of knew that the name was going to come to me. And just literally just I thought of Mr. B, that was our dog's name, and I thought of the Rainbow Bridge, and I'm like, rainbow doesn't quite fit, but wait, bridge. And all of a sudden, everything I just talked about, connecting people and all that, I realized that's exactly what I am.
Yeah.
You don't go out to see a bridge, not typically, but what a bridge does is it connects everything together. It makes everything possible. It's support.
Yeah.
And I realized that's exactly what I want to be.
Yeah.
So that's why I've chosen MC Bridge as my MC name.
So in practice, what's the vision in your head? So if it's an event,
Yes.
that you're connecting, you're on the mic, you're impacting people's lives, the energy of the moment,
Yes.
and you're bridging, making the connections.
Essentially, yes. The idea really is that somebody can have a literal life-changing message. Oftentimes, you can hear, may I actually ask you, have you ever heard something, said in different ways and it didn't really click, and then all of a sudden you heard it from a specific person or said in a specific way, and all of a sudden it just made sense?
Yeah.
And that is so much of what we communicate. It's so easy to just have things go over your head, but if it's framed in the right way, if the tone is set in the right way, you're in the right environment, it's spoken at the right moment and the right way, it can hit in a way that changes everything.
Sure.
It really just takes an idea to spark a decision to change your entire life.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what I do. Is I help other people who have those life-changing tools or methods or ideas or whatnot, and then they just don't have the right format to or the way to set the tone in the room for it to actually be received powerfully en masse. and I take care of that piece. I like get the room set in a place and introduce them in a way where now everybody is ready to receive what they have to say.
Sure, yeah.
So ultimately, like that is my large scale vision for what I do.
Yeah. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see you progress, help you progress, whatever I can do.
Absolutely.
It's, when I think back to why we even connected, I mean, it's just your energy is infectious, and it's like, I want to be around this guy,
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Gosh, there's so much. Are there any other things, that you think you'd like to share right now?
I think that yes, there is one other brief story I think would be helpful.
Yeah.
And I will speak to the camera for this one.
Yeah.
So I'm not here to say like, oh, woe is me, like I've been through all this stuff, because I know for those of you watching, I mean, many of you, maybe most of you actually, have been through stuff far worse than anything I have already said or will say. So I'm not to take, to compare or, make light of any situation you've been through. But I will say that I have been through some stuff too, I'll share. And the decisions I made following them were really transformational for my life. And perhaps there's somebody watching that this would be impactful to hear. So ultimately, I shared briefly that I lost my mom, and that was long ago. I was about 7 years. I'm 24 now. I was about 7 when she had passed away. And she had some different health conditions. She had seizures that get chronically worse, and she just happened to have a seizure when nobody's home, and that ended her life. And that was its own unique experience, being so young, not really understanding what that means. Just all of a sudden, this unconditional love in your life is just gone, and that comes with its own array. But the cool thing with that for me was that so much of my life happened after I was 7 years old. So many people I met, so many amazing experiences I had, I wouldn't trade for the world. And also my mom was just so incredible. In the 7 years I had her, she just had such an impactful, powerful, amazing influence on who I was and became that, I mean, I can't look back at that and see anything but gratitude. And it would be very easy to look back and be like, man, all these people have their parents, and I don't have my mom. And ultimately, I just want to communicate that's a choice. No matter how hard of a choice that is, I just want to say, like, you always do have the choice to whatever situation you're in, you get to choose what it means. So for me, that's, what my mom's death meant, that all this beautiful stuff has happened to me because she died. I moved, around the country because she died. I met those people in that move because she died. I'm here. I've only met Dennis because she's passed away. And then last year, or about 2 years ago, I think now, I had one of my best friends from high school. He's about 18 days older than me. We lived across the country at this point. I hadn't seen him in years, but we talked for hours every Sunday. And I mean, he was somebody who we had these big projects we were working on together. I mean, he was somebody I was going to be with, until I thought I was 80 or 90 years old. And he worked in construction. And just one day he went to work. He forgot to put on his vest, climbed down in this hole to kind of mark a line where an excavator was supposed to dig. And somebody got in the excavator, didn't know he was there, swung around and just crushed him up against the wall and just instantly killed him. And that was something where it's like, I can take that and be like, man, my mom died. My best friend is gone. Like, this is just a reason to dig myself deeper, to look at things in a negative light. And that's easy to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. There are aspects I did take that path. But on the flip side, there is an opportunity. There's a chance for you to decide, okay, there's this thing that has happened that was completely out of my control. It's not my responsibility to tell him to have a job, in construction or not. It's not my responsibility to make sure he's always wearing his vest, or, make sure that job site is always, perfectly up to code in every way. That's not my role, and I have no control over that. his death had nothing to do ultimately with like my ability to choose things. But what it meant to me has every ounce of, I have every ounce of control. So obviously it was a very devastating experience. And after a couple days, I decided that I was going to do something with it. I ended up moving across the country. I had some family and friends in Texas from when I used to live there in the past, so I moved back there to be with them. I got to reconnect with his brother-in-law, and now that he's going to be the best man at my wedding. I mean, no doubt. I mean, he's by far my best friend. Not as a replacement, but I mean in the sense of, here's this guy that if my buddy Brock hadn't gotten killed, I never would have met him. I had technically met him, but I never would have like really met him, authentically connected with him, and have a real lifelong best friend. Or my fiance Mariana, she's from Texas. I did not know her when I lived there previously. The only reason I met her is because I moved back, and I moved back because Brock died. And ultimately what happens is, not only do you have the ability to make these mental decisions of what it means, sometimes it's hard to be like, oh man, my buddy's dead, so that's a good thing for some reason, and trying to feel that. But when you actually make real real decisions that create real experiences, it becomes impossible to not find the good in things, because it would be impossible for me to look at having, my buddy Jeremiah, his brother-in-law, and be like, oh, yeah, it still sucks Brock died. No. I mean, he's my best friend. There's just so much beauty there. I can't help but see the beauty in how things have gone. Or meeting Mariana. I mean, or like I've gotten to connect with Brock's parents in a way that I never had before. I get to speak with them every couple weeks. And when before, I mean, they probably thought I was just some weird kid who hung out with their son. And I never had a, like one-on-one conversation with them. So my point with all this is, maybe you've been through, lighter stuff in your life to this point, or maybe you've been through a lot more shit. And even if you've been through a lot of shit and you've let that weigh on you for a long time, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no judgment. That's okay. That happens. It's part of life. But the cool thing is that you have the ability to decide what that means to you now, and what it means to you moving forward, and finally what you're going to do about it. And if you do something powerful with that, whether it be for yourself or for other people, my guess is that it's going to dramatically change what this stuff means to you for the better. So anyhow, that's the last thing that was on my heart I wanted to share. And I will bring it back to Denny.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, it's just touching to hear, and I don't even know what to say. I'm sorry that you've been through some of those things, but those things have brought such love into your life, and such purposeful choice to choose the good. And that's not easy to do. There's a lot of minor things that don't go right in life.
Yeah.
And we focus on the bad, and they're minor.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, Caden, I know we've got a long trip together into the future, so we're going to see you again. We're going to have you back on, and we can't wait to see where you go, because it's clear that you're going to go far. But thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure, Denny.
Thanks for sharing your fantastic escapades.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Peace. You can upper left and then stop recording.
Stop streaming?
Yeah, stop streaming.